What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're covering part 2 of our CQB debrief. This is going to be covering weapon manipulation with both the rifle and with the pistol. So with that, let's get into it. All right, first and foremost, if you missed our part 1 of our CQB debrief, make sure you check out that video. We really cover the why behind what we're doing, what our context is, rules of engagement, things that are going to dictate why we might use a certain method over another. As far as today's video goes, we're covering how we manipulate this rifle because I think it's something that's really not practiced enough, especially if you are utilizing a rifle or pistol for home defense. So if we're really conscious of where we're putting this muzzle in relation to teammates or family members, then we're doing ourselves a disservice by not covering, one of the main rules for firearm safety, and that's not pointing our muzzle at anything we don't wish to destroy. So as far as the rifle goes, there's a lot of debate on low ready, high ready, or high port, low port, depending on what background you're coming from. Manipulating this rifle from a low ready to a low carry, or from a high ready to a high carry, understanding how those different positions can serve you in a CQB setting is really important. So first and foremost, let's cover low carry. So as far as low ready goes, it's typically somewhat of a 45-degree downward angle and the stock is already in my shoulder. This is a good fighting position to where in close quarters, I can see what's going on and I can see what we would consider feet to floor. If we encounter somebody in this setting, I don't have this obstructing my vision. I'm looking over top the sight. I can see waistline, if anybody's holding any weapons down by their side, hands in their pockets, anything that I might miss that if I have my hands, my arms, and the optic obstructing my view from seeing that. So being in this fighting position, this low ready, I simply raise up, quarter of a second and I'm ready to go. This is my preferred method if I'm leading the charge. If I'm the one man leading through a structure, just a low ready, nice and comfortable. I can stay in this position for long periods of time and I can simply raise up when necessary, right? And then if somebody were to walk in front of me like a teammate or family member, depending on your context, simply collapsing that down, high, dominant elbow to where my muzzle is definitively up and down. We don't want to, be lazy with this and, maybe collapse it to our chest where our muzzle is still pointing out to the side and I might be flagging guys next to me, or have it play off of our plate carrier potentially to where it kind of flags forward because I'm resting it on anything or resting the stock in my shoulder. I want to be definitively up and down. This isn't necessarily too concerned about weapon retention, more concerned about maintaining two hands on this rifle and having that muzzle definitively up and down. There's going to be a use case for me to go to a high ready to where I can manipulate doors, move people out of the way, and I can still utilize this position in an effective manner to where I can just present up and I can get those sights on target. The downside to the high ready is pretty objectively, but it might be dependent on the individual. This is going to be slower presenting up. So if you guys remember our rifle standards, we do a 1.1 second 20-yard shot to an A-zone target from the high ready, and we do a sub 1 second from the low ready. It's just simpler to already have it stock in my shoulder to where I can present up to shoot. Where this is out of my shoulder and then I have to present up does, add time to my presentation. To go to a high ready, or a high carry, I would simply collapse the gun close to my ear and then I can do the same thing. So going back to my example before, somebody walks out in front of me or something I don't want to muzzle, I simply collapse it up. And I can move people out of the way, I can open doors, I can still do the same stuff from this high carry position. Real quick, I want to talk about why I might have just one hand on the gun for this high carry position. If I have this hand up and I start to turn, it tends to start to pull that down, completely subconsciously. You might be able to just be super disciplined with it, but again, that could be a concern. And then again, if I'm going to present out from this position, whether my hand's on it or not, I can present up. I don't find that I really lose any time from that presentation just by simply collapsing the upper receiver into my hand, and then I can present up. Switching gears over to the pistol, some things change slightly, but for the most part, it's gonna be the same formula. Again, having some ability to manipulate the gun, whether it's low or high, is gonna be really important depending on, your environment, what's going on, and your context. For me, again, preference is gonna be low ready because I simply raise it up into view. Some folks like to compress in, and this is something that I've certainly found myself doing, especially when I'm going through a larger building. I'm starting to get fatigued. I might compress in just to, feel a little bit more comfortable. The fact is, even just holding my hand out for a long period of time is gonna get fatiguing after a while. So being in a comfortable position is important, especially when you're in a larger structure or holding a position for a long period of time. I kind of game it, cheating that support hand grip on the gun. Good fundamentals that you can learn more about in some of our other pistol training videos. I have my support hand already cheated, already good, my grip's already established, and I simply raise it up into view. The more I compress in, you guys notice the more my grip starts to break down. And that's why I like to just present it out. I also find a lot more success raising the gun into view for picking up the dot as opposed to presenting out. Now you can practice both and you can get proficient with both. It's all about preference. Again, I don't obstruct my view with my hands and my gun and my back plate and dot and all that stuff in my way when I'm trying to make a decision whether or not I should shoot somebody. So I'm focused on the threat. I come around the corner, regardless of what technique we're using for building clearing, and then I present up and I can engage, or I can start giving commands, tell the person what I want them to do. So as far as collapsing this gun into place, a common position that people teach is the stool position. You may be familiar with this already, but I take my thumbs and I collapse it down. This is good in the sense that I can definitively, again, high elbow with that dominant hand, I can definitively put the muzzle up and down to where I'm not flagging any buddies. The more I collapse this down into my, my stomach, or my gear gets in the way, that thing might start to flag outward. And again, we want this thing to be definitively up and down. Or if we get relaxed with this elbow and then it starts going off to the side. My preference for pistol on a low carry is gonna be simply rolling my hand over top and actually grabbing over top the trigger guard, the light, depending on your setup. I prefer this because it's a much better weapon retention technique. If I encounter anybody close quarters, I don't have as much of a concern of somebody taking this gun from me because I have really good established grip. And then I also feel very in control of the muzzle. The slide that I have control of, I really feel like I can move it around effectively and not flag anybody's. If I go Sewell, obviously somebody grabs this gun, I pretty much only have one hand on the gun, and that could be a concern. So again, it's all about preference, it's all about practicing and just rolling that hand back into that position. If I go from a number 2 man, collapsing down, not flagging my buddy, and then I might take on that 1-man roll, I just roll in and I'm in that low carry. Again, it's all about preference. You might feel like you want to do more of a compressed, more of a weapon retention type of position. Again, I just like my hands out, ready to go, already gaming it, already cheating. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. So this high carry position for the pistol is going to be relatively similar to what we covered with the rifle, simply looking over top the muzzle and assessing what's going on in my environment. To present up, again, we just press out, and that's pretty much all there is to it. What's going to differ for the high carry, my preference is going to be to keep 2 hands on the gun. Again, I want to game it a little bit. I want to make sure I have an established grip. So just bringing up to my ear is my preference. And as long as I have some form of reference with this could be where I place my elbow, or it could be placing this against my ballistic helmet, something to reference so I know that muzzle is definitively up and down. I can also take my support hand off the gun and I, again, do administrative tasks that I might need to do. So in a split moment when somebody walks in front of me or I need to collapse, I simply go here or here with 2 hands and I'm able to look around. Again, weapon retention is going to be an important asset because 2 hands on the gun is going to be better than 1, obviously. And if we encounter somebody close quarters, my gun's already out, this could be a fight over the gun. So we want to make sure that we're able to retain this effectively. But again, if I need to do something administratively, I have to be versatile. I need to be able to move between these positions and know when it's appropriate to have my muzzle ready to go, extended out, ready to fight, and when I need to collapse this thing down and assess what's going on, assisting and supporting my team members or family members. All right, guys, that was a really quick, down and dirty weapon manipulation conversation for part 2 of our CQB debrief. There are a lot of nuances with weapon manipulation. You want to learn more about that, consider taking one of our CQB problem solver classes, or obviously there's a lot of content on the internet. Decide what's best for you and practice that. You can easily do that with dry fire. You can practice a home safety plan, or if you are in the military or law enforcement, obviously there are more advanced classes out there that you can take to better your abilities through a structure. I have my preferences, but it's not the only way to do it, right? I've practiced all of these positions that I've covered in this video with both pistol and rifle, and I found them to be effective. And again, as long as we're being safe with our teammates, we're not muzzling our teammates, and we're ready to go when the situation calls for it, and we have good fundamentals with the firearm, those are already built in, ready to go. I know I'm effective with this pistol or this rifle. That's going to be some of the more important things. I would say if you are simply doing CQB in a home defense situation, I would say make sure you're really proficient with your firearm, you understand safety, and as long as you're not muzzling any family members, you're pretty much good to go. So there's a lot more that we plan on covering in regards to CQB. We've covered kind of the overview in part 1, weapon manipulation in part 2, and we plan on doing a lot more episodes in the future, so make sure you stay tuned for those. Subscribe if you haven't already, and with that, we'll see you on the next one.